Hi, today we are studying writing equations with parallel and perpendicular lines of parallel and perpendicular. Okay, you're doing section 7-8, page 340, 1 through 30 odd. And we also have a practice test that I'd like you to do by Monday, as I want to give you the chapter test. The chapter test will be on Monday. 11 2, okay, after we meet in class. Okay, so here we go. Our vocabulary for the day is parallel and perpendicular. All right, so let's just take a look right now. Let's just watch us graph the following lines on the same graph. So if I'm looking at, remember the easiest way to graph is using your slope and y-intercept. So identify your slope, which is m, is 1/2, and I'm going to identify my y-intercept, b, which is -3. And I'm going to start at the -3 on the y-axis. Okay, and then I'm going to rise over run to my other points. Rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Or I can go -1, -2, right? Down 1, down, left 2. And then I draw my line. Okay. Let's do the next one. My m is 1/2. My b is -1. I'm going to start at the -1. And from there, I'm going to rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Or I can go -1, -2. -1, -2, because remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Draw the line. And what do we notice about these lines? What do we notice? Yes, that's right. They are parallel. So what in these equations makes them parallel? What do you think? What do they have in common? Hopefully you are guessing the slope. So it is the slope that makes them parallel. So parallel lines always have the same slope. So we don't have to graph it. We could just get the equation in slope-intercept form, compare the slopes, and then we know if they're parallel. So this says, write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that is parallel to this. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is, we know that the slope is 2, but they want us to use this point, and they want it parallel. Parallel means it has to use the same slope. So I'm going to use m equals -2, and I'm using that point 4, -3. So to be parallel, it has to have the same slope. Now please notice that slope does not have an x. It's what comes before the x, but x is not part of the slope. So I can do my point slope, or y equals mx plus b. Y equals, let's do our y minus 1, I favor that. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'm doing y minus -3 equals -2 times x minus 4. Remember, I'm very deliberate with those double negatives. And here I get +8, check your signs, subtract 3, and y equals -2x plus 5. So here's the equation of a line. It is parallel to this, only the line goes through 4 down 3. So that line is going through it. So when we start to graph it, we end up going like that, something like that. And it's parallel to this one, which is all the way down here, something like that. Here it's crossing at -9, here it's crossing at +5, and voila. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now, I'm sure my other one did y equals mx plus b, Oh, no, they did do point slope. So there we have it. Same equation. Okay, write the equation of a line in standard form that is parallel. Well, this is standard form. The only problem is that we have to get the y alone to figure out the slope. So we still have to do that. Take our 3x minus 5y. We have to find the slope in order to find a line that's parallel. We got to find out what the slope is and use the same slope. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Divide all terms by 5. Y equals positive 3 over 5x minus 2. So all I need out of that is this slope. M equals 3 over 5. I'm going to use the point. Notice I'm just not going constant, constant, constant. I'm breaking it up and doing it in parts. So 3 over 5 and this. So this time we'll use y equals mx plus b. So you have some more examples. Now remember, this, in y equals mx plus b, this is your x. This is your x and this is your y. So I substitute those in. Okay? And now we have negative 6 over 5. But remember, when I add 6 over 5, I need to add 6 over 5 here. But I need to make 6 something with a common denominator. How about 5? Let's make that, what over 5? 30 over 5. That equals 6. And now what we have is 36 over 5 is equal to the b. So I can do, and don't change it to a mixed number yet. Keep it in fraction form. So now here's our equation, but they want the equation in standard form. That means x and y on the same side and no fractions. So I'm going to subtract 3/5 x. Okay, we can multiply by 5 first. I get 5. I can clear the fraction, multiply by 5 first. And then we get 5y equals 3x plus 36. And then we subtract the 3x, and there we go. We are in standard form. So it really takes a lot of reading. How do they want it? They want it in standard form. What do they want? They want it parallel. That means if they want it parallel, we have to use the same slope. The slope for this line right here is 3/5, so I'm going to use it for this line as well. Okay? Okay, pause that if you want to take more notes. Okay, graph the following on the coordinate plane. So my m is 2/3, my b is 1. I start at the 1, put a point. I'm going to rise 2, run 3. Rise 2, negative 2, negative 3. So down 2, left 3. Draw the line. On the next one, I'm going to identify my m is negative 3 over 2. And my b is 4. So I'm going to start at 4. And then I'm going to go down 3, left 2. So down 3, but positive to the right 2. Down 3. Okay. Now, this is what we call perpendicular lines. Okay? Perpendicular lines. Now, we can check this. The way we check, they have opposite reciprocal slopes. Opposite sign, reciprocal numbers. So the opposite of positive 2/3 would be negative, and then the reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3 over 2. It's the flip. All right, so let's practice a little opposite reciprocal so we can figure out our perpendicular lines. So the opposite of 2/3 would be negative 2/3. The reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3 over 2. So the opposite reciprocal would be negative 3 over 2. Okay, you try it. Pause the recording. Now let's check. The opposite of 4/5, negative 4/5 is positive 4/5. The reciprocal is 5/4, negative 5/4. And so the opposite reciprocal would be positive 5/4. The opposite of 3, why don't you try that one? Now let's check. The opposite of 3 is negative 3. The reciprocal of 3 would be 1/3. So the opposite reciprocal would be negative 1/3. Now, convert your decimal to a fraction. If you need to find the opposite, a perpendicular, you're going to have to convert it to a fraction. So 2/10, let's reduce that. 2/10 becomes 1/5. That's easy there. I would convert it to the fraction for, okay, so the opposite is just the opposite sign. But remember, this is 2/10, which reduces to 1/5. So the reciprocal would be 5. And then the opposite reciprocal would be negative 5. Okay, the opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. The reciprocal of 8 is 1/8. Right? Negative 1/8, sorry. And then the opposite reciprocal would be, opposite sign is 1. The reciprocal is 1/8. All right, so now we're doing the same thing, only we're finding, and they want it, how do they want it? They want it in standard form. That's x and y on the same side, no decimals. No fractions or decimals. So we're going to start with getting our equation. We have to find the slope, because remember, same slope means parallel. Opposite reciprocal slope means perpendicular. So we're going to find the slope of this line. Adding x to both sides, divide all terms by 4. So that really becomes a 1/4, right? M equals 1/4. Okay? So to find the perpendicular, we're going to use this symbol. Go back for a minute. Okay, so if M is 1/4, the opposite reciprocal, so we can get the perpendicular. This is the symbol for parallel. This is the symbol for perpendicular. The opposite reciprocal is going to be opposite sign. The opposite sign is negative, and the reciprocal would be 4. So M is negative 4. The perpendicular slope would be negative 4. And we're using the point. We can use y equals mx plus b or point slope. So I'm substituting the 2 in for the x, the 5 in for the b. I get 5 equals negative 8 plus b. I'm adding 8. And I get b equals 13. So we're using the perpendicular slope and the b, and we write the equation. Y equals negative 4x plus 13. And then we just have to get the y alone, right? I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So 4x plus y equals 13. So this is the equation of a line with the opposite reciprocal slope of the original equation, meaning these two lines are perpendicular. They cross at a 90-degree angle. All right, so let's look at determine whether the slopes are perpendicular or parallel. Perpendicular actually perpendicular, not parallel. I believe in tonight's homework they're going to say, determine whether the graphs are perpendicular. Determine whether they're parallel. In my test, I'm going to ask you, are they perpendicular, parallel, or neither, okay? Remember, parallel has the same slope. Perpendicular is opposite reciprocal. Okay, so these are not the same slope, so they're not parallel. Are they opposite sign? Yes. This one's positive, this one's negative, and are they reciprocal? So this is perpendicular. Oops, I was supposed to say perp. Okay. They're reciprocals, but they are not opposite signs, so no. Number 2. Okay, they're opposite signs, and the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4, so yes, this is perpendicular. The answer here is yes. In mine, I'm going to ask you perpendicular, parallel, or neither on your test. So you just basically have to find the slope, and then you're going to, once you find the slope, you are going to, I should tell you, they are perpendicular if when you multiply their slopes, they equal -1. If they sum to -1, if the product is -1, then it is a perpendicular slope. So let's look at the next one. That's an easy way to do it too. You can either tell if it's opposite reciprocal or if they multiply. This multiplies to +1. So this is not perpendicular. The next one, -4 times 4. It's the same thing as doing this. So it equals -1. Okay? All right, let's see where we are. Find the equation of a line that in standard form that is perpendicular. So pause the recording and you try this one on your own. Find the slope, look for the opposite reciprocal, then write the equation of the line. Now let's check our work. Step 1, get y alone. Subtract 3x from both sides, divide all terms by 5. So I get y equals, remember I usually show my division like this, so you guys remember to do everything, and we get y equals -3/5x plus 7/5. Now the b doesn't matter. The only thing I need out of here, m equals -3/5. That's all I need. Once I find that, they want perpendicular, so the perpendicular slope will be opposite sign, which is positive, and 5/3. And now I use this point, -4, 8. Let's go point slope. We've been doing the other one. Y minus 8 equals m, which is 5/3, times x minus -4. Y minus 8 equals 5/3 times x plus 4. Y minus 8 equals 5/3x plus 20/3. I'm adding 8. I'm adding 8 over here. 24/3. And I get y equals 5/3x plus 44/3. Now, how do they want it? Do they want, this is slope-intercept, but they want it in standard. So now we have to multiply everything by 3. I'm not going to ask a lot of you guys in standard form on the test. And so I get 3y equals 5x plus 44, and I subtract the 5x, and we get, sorry, I have no more room, -5x plus 3y equals 44. Okay, let's put it in in PowerPoint. They used this. What happened? What did I do? Let me go back. Okay. -4 is 5/3. That's 20. Oh, I didn't see that it was a -8. That's what I did. So I messed this up. So here, this really should have been plus, and then I should have been subtracting. So then we get 4/3. Right? 4/3. So when I multiplied by 3, it should have been plus 4. And then when I got it alone, it should equal 4. Is there anything else we did? That's it. I think that's all that it affected. So, one more time, if you want to look at it in slope-intercept, we should have ended up with y equals -4/3. I'm going to multiply everything by 3, clear the fraction, and then subtract 4x. There we go. I still got that wrong. Wow. Well, first lesson of the day is always tough. Because I should have had a negative. There we go. That's why I don't suggest taking your quiz or your test first thing in the morning, because I make mistakes first thing. It's half of why I do this, because then I'm warmed up for the class. All right, guys, so for tonight's homework, they're just going to give you, you're going to find the slope. If the slope is the same in both equations, just get y alone, find the m, determine the m. If the slope is the same, it's parallel. If the slope is an opposite reciprocal, or the two slopes multiply to -1, then it equals, it's perpendicular. Okay? And that is our lesson.